Hi guys, Ryan here with Pitching Tutors, and today in this video we will be going over our pitcher-specific warm-ups before each practice. The program can work with just the dad and son combo, but we recommend having another kid come out and join you so that the dad or the coach can sit there and give feedback on the pitches, which will be important when we get into more advanced topics. So things that you'll definitely need in order to do pitching practice include good balls with good laces, your catcher's glove, your cleats, your cup, a timer to time your running, water for hydration, and a mound that's the correct distance from the plate that's the same that you'll be throwing in a game. So things that are good to have but are not essential are baseball caps, baseball pants, and catcher's gear. But we do recommend that you have at least one catcher's glove for each pair so that they can switch for each other. We found that chest pads and shin guards have become unnecessary for us, but if the pitcher that you're catching for is throwing way faster than you can handle, you might want to add that extra gear. Keep in mind that these pitchers only practices are separate from the regular team practices and are done at different times and on different days. And these practices are usually an hour long because pitching practices tend to run shorter than a regular team practice. Normally our practices are on days where the team doesn't practice, or we set a 3-time-a-week schedule if it's the off season. You may be able to get away with 2 times a week, but we found that the progress is much slower. We recommend 3 times a week, and if you were to go only 1 time a week, we found that that's really not very effective, but it's better than nothing at all. We always start the practices with 2 time laps that go all the way around the baseball field, which includes the outfield. The purpose of this fast-paced run is to get all of the muscle groups warmed up and working at capacity. This should be a difficult run, but it should still be achievable in the time given. And of course, you can adjust the time you're giving them to your players' abilities. Once the first lap is completed, the coach will note the time and give the players a couple minutes of rest to catch their breath before they go hard again. We always only do 2 laps if all players are able to make it in underneath the given time. However, if one player makes it in over the time limit, then all of the players will have to run again with the time readjusted so that it's difficult for everybody but still achievable. We've found all the different ways to run more laps. Our group has run as much as 4 laps due to slow times, and we've had times that we missed the time only by 1 second. Did I mention that the entire squad runs as a group? And if one person doesn't make it in, they'll all have to run again. But if you're only working with one player, you're going to have that person try to beat his or her time over again from the previous lap in order to make it a challenge for them. If you have a large group of kids with different athletic builds, you may want to consider separating them into 2 groups and timing them accordingly. This is by far the fastest way that we've found to get everybody warmed up and focused on the objective. We've noticed that after we've ran and can't breathe, there's not really much room for us to talk or fool around. For our group, running is an important part of our conditioning, even though it's not met with enthusiasm most days. The rule that my dad uses that you may or may not want to use is that once we set an appointed practice time, everybody's expected to be there or the entire group runs an extra lap. It doesn't matter what the reason is for being late, we're still running an extra lap. It helps to build cohesion, accountability, and it keeps our practices starting on time. After we're done running our laps, we go into a pitcher-specific arm warm-up. I've always used this warm-up ever since I started pitching, and there's a lot of medical know-how and knowledge of body mechanics that went into building this routine. And I'll go over this step by step. Like I said in the first video, my dad is a doctor and he's worked on many people with athletic injuries, and he was the one who designed this warm-up for me. Underhands. Players will start about 15 feet apart and toss the ball to each other underhand, just like how they would do it if they were to field a ground ball or a bunt and underhand it to a first baseman. They would step in the direction of the other player, bend their front knee a little, and make a controlled toss to the other player that's below the chin and above the waist. This warm-up serves 2 purposes. 1, it gives the player a chance to practice underhand plays that normally wouldn't get practiced, and 2, it warms up the shoulder without stress, and this should be done about 20 to 30 reps. Next, we have shuffle passes. Players will stand with their throwing shoulder pointed to the person that they're going to throw to, and they'll do a sideways wrist flick to the other person, which simulates an infield ground ball in a situation where you might want to flick the ball to the second baseman. Players should still be about 15 feet apart for this drill. This warms up the wrist, elbow, and the top of the shoulder, and it also gives players a chance to practice the shuffle, which normally doesn't get much work. Again, 20 to 30 reps. Overhand toss. Players will back up roughly a distance that is equal to 50% of normal pitching distance and will start to throw overhand. Players will be turned sideways with their glove arm pointed towards the person that they're throwing to and their toes pointing to the side, not at the person catching them. This simulates the same position of the body when they're on the rubber and in set position. This serves a dual purpose as well. It allows the pitchers to stretch out their arms from a shorter throw distance, and it warms up all of the rotational muscles that the body will be using during a pitching motion. The player will stride forward with their toes still facing the side, and when they plant, their toes should be facing the catcher to simulate the motion of an actual pitch. Make sure to get a wider stride with each throw until they get their legs warmed up for the pitching motion. Warming up the legs is very important for our style of pitching, as about 1/3 of the energy for the throw is generated from the legs. We will get much more detailed into proper leg motion further on in the video courses. I spent about 50% of my first 6 months just working on legs. You can't have accuracy or repeatability in your pitches if you don't have a repeatable leg motion. Side to sides, players will back up to the full pitching distance for this warm-up. The person catching the ball will alternate holding up the glove first to the left, then to the right, and switch after each throw. Just having the intention to throw the ball to a specific side of the body starts to warm up the feel of where to release the ball in order to get it to go to a specific location. Controlling ball locations, throwing to the left and to the right will be very important later on when we get into the more advanced drills. Once players feel that their arms are loose and warmed up, we start our pitching drills. Our pitching warm-ups are usually short and concise, but they have a lot of practice built into them for efficiency. Sometimes we'll do more advanced reflex, agility, and conditioning drills, but 90% of the time it's just running and pitcher's arm warm-ups. Three-way warm-ups. If you have an odd number of players, you can do a three-way warm-up. Players will be in a triangle using 2 balls for 3 players. Players will do the same actions with the same distance as a two-way warm-up, but they'll be going in a circle counterclockwise for the first 10 reps and then clockwise for the second 10 reps. The balls are moving fast and the players don't have as much time to sit idle. It's more challenging and more fun. Now that everyone's warm, we move on to the pitching drills. See you in the next video.